So here is a continuation of Chris, aka Kristin Beck, Navy SEAL Chief.
DOD wide. And so I'm there as a chief, and they know I'm really good at this stuff. So they called me up to the Pentagon. I got in trouble for this one too. That was, shit, I remember his name. It was one of the commanders at Dam Neck.
It doesn't matter. Really, it would be best if we leave names out.
So mad at me for doing it. But on weekends, I would drive my own car up to the Pentagon. And then the Pentagon staff that was in charge of the whole system, the entire portfolio wide, which was a stack of programs like this much. And each program was only a quad chart, was one sheet of paper with 4 sections. It would show you the company, the prices, all the stuff. It would show you the mission. It would show you all the stuff real quick, a quick outline of what it was they were trying to build. And this is all future projects. So we're spending $400 million on, and we're giving all the money to Northrop Grumman and all these freaking, thieves around the Beltway, Beltway bandits. We're giving them $400 million a year to invent all these things for us to track people, to locate them, track them, and tag them, and do all the stuff. And so they started calling me up there, and actually the reason they called me up there is because one of them, I was going up there, and I saw one of these things, and I was like, this is stupid. We already have something better. And the guy that was in charge of the program was like, what? And I said, yeah, we have something way better than this. And I said, why are you guys wasting all the money on this? I said, you guys are wasting like $6 million on a stupid project that we already have. I said, they're double dipping. It's the same company. They already gave it to us. I said, they're double dipping. It's the left hand not talking to the right hand. And then the guy was like, well, I wonder how many other projects are in there. I said, well, let me see the book. So he brings me into the skiff, the secret compartment, and then we start flipping through the books. I'm going, nope. That's okay, but we already have that spec, that spec, that spec. All we need is this. So cut that program down by at least half, only give them a couple $1 million and make them do that one thing. I was going through the whole book, flipping through pages. I did that for a little while, and the guy was like, hey, can you come up here and do this with all of us? Because I was only with him. He wanted more of his staff there so we can start flipping through and rewrite the entire program. So in about 3 weekends or 4 weekends, I went up there, driving from Virginia Beach up to DC to the Pentagon, and I would stay at the Pentagon and just work like 12 hours a day, going through the books and looking at everything and studying and telling them and writing out all the numbers, how much it should cost. So I already know all the cost breakdowns. I can give you, if that's TRL 6, technology readiness levels, I can take you where the technology readiness level is right now for anything. I can tell you where it'll be and how much it'll cost and where it goes. I can tell you if we already have it right now. If you give me almost anything to portfolio for Grumman or Northrop Grumman, GD, any of them, I did it for 3M. So the 3M guys had me up there, and they started asking about different things. I said, well, the military never used that, but if you do this, this, and this, the military would buy it like crazy. And so I went to 3M and I gave them a whole bunch of the same stuff. Rewrote the entire program, fired a lot of companies, and changed the entire program. And that was with Richardson down at SOCOM. He had me, Doug Richardson, good guy, like smart. That guy was really good at it. He had a warrant officer working for him who was magnificent also. He's probably running the program now. Can't remember his name, no, Army warrant. But give me the problem and I'll solve it every time.
Wow.
But it'll take me a little while sometimes.
Yeah.
And that goes into the problem I have right now with all the trans stuff that I want to say that...
We're going to get there.
But I want to say right now that all of y'all out there are just saying, this person, it seems like brilliant and has a lot of stuff going on. But it's also where I have a really big failing too, is that I start going down rabbit holes and I start chasing it. And I really dig in and I learn all about it. And then I get kind of stuck in it sometimes. Well, I was stuck in a lot of that for a while and I got trapped. And then it had to take me a long time to fight out of it. And that's what happened. That's that. Okay, so SEAL Team 5, I'm there, 2nd Platoon, Task Unit Chief, Crypto. I'm running all the systems. So any communications guy that's deployed overseas, they basically fall under my task unit, under Task Unit Charlie. And so I'm in charge of everybody overseas. You're not a SEAL for the team. And all the crypto, all the radios, and all the other stuff. And that's what I ran. And then I also ran missions. But because I wasn't in a platoon and I wasn't attached to a task unit that was directly with the combat missions, the actual mission on the ground. I was in charge of all the stuff behind the mission. When I was at SEAL Team 5, when I was deployed to Iraq, I attached to the agency again. Because I was sneaky peeking and doing little weird stuff. That's why if you see some of the stuff I've given to the museums, the golden AK-47 magazine in the museum. So I'm the one that had it, golden AK-47, and I'm walking around, you know. It's like I was coming back with stuff because we were in places where nobody else was at yet. So I was in, like, you know, these palaces before, a lot of times before it was even like done, you know.
Yeah.
It was wacky, the
Like
stuff that we were
pre-war,
doing.
pre-combat.
Yeah, it was nuts.
You were
It was the
inserted
craziest thing that
before
I was
any
like,
of it happened.
everything happened. We were already invaded. So I was there in the beginning of the invasion force. So it was like what, a March, April timeframe of 03, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was there during the whole period and going there, and I was flying UAVs. Oh, that's the other thing. I was flying UAVs. I have a ton of adventures with those things too. So I was one of the first people to fly UAV and do call for fire forward observer. So I was forward observing with a mortar tube sitting right there with a UAV. That was pretty cool. Nobody else did it. I said you couldn't do it because the mortar's going to hit the UAV. I was going, okay, my UAV is this big, the mortar is this big, and the sky is this big. I said, if it does hit the UAV, we fine. I said, it's a 1 in a billion chances. If it does, we wreck UAVs all the time, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's just one more that crashed. I don't care. Throw another one in the air and go. The thing cost $5,000. I mean, they're expensive. We don't throw them away, but we do damage them a lot, you know, because we're in combat. And so they were like, well, okay, let's try it. And so I started doing forward observing with the UAV. They were like, damn, that's cool. I said, we could chase people with this. I said, watch this. Let's chase the mortar. And so we started doing it so we could hit moving vehicles with mortars. And I said, just call it in, you know? And that was never been done. Out of sight. This is over the horizon. So I'm flying UAVs 12, 15 miles away and hitting stuff, you know? And they were like, damn, you know, I could shoot with a 50 cal with a UAV and a 50, and you won't see it, but we can drop bullets in and hit people, you know, long ways away.
Crazy.
I can walk it in. I can just correct it and go, okay, go. And just start going with the big Maldus, you know, walking in.
Yeah.
You know, but we were doing stuff like that with the UAVs, and I did a bunch of other stuff with the UAVs that probably not allowed to talk about some of it, but it was some cool stuff, you know. Okay, so that's all Team 5.
What kind of stuff were you doing with the agency? Can you talk about any of it?
No, not really.
All right. Well, let's move on then.
But I can talk about some of it. I mean, it's going through the same stuff all the agency guys go through. You go through the farm and you do a bunch of the training, you do all this stuff, and then you get reattached to teams and you do this other stuff, and you start becoming a liaison, start doing all the stuff. And then I finally went over to Afghanistan, and I was at a SEAL team attached to the agency working all of the BCPs and stuff. So, and because the agency doesn't work in a war zone,
what's a BCP?
Border control point, border checkpoint. It's a border control point, I think. But they are at a high mountain peaks that can look out across borders. And then so we can still engage and do the stuff we have to do, but we're the only ones who can do it because it was under a different title. So it's Title 10 or Title, 50. I'm starting to mix up some of that. But it's basically, we work under different authorities. So it depends on who you're attached to and how you have authorities. That's why the SEAL teams bring Coast Guard guys. Whenever we're doing ship interdiction, doing anything out in the ocean, if it has that, drug interdiction, ship interdiction, that stuff, if you have a Coast Guard with you, it gives you authorities that we don't have as SEALs.
Okay.
And that's why we do that. We bring FBI guys with us because
Yeah.
the FBI has authorities that we don't have. So as long as they're attached, we can do a lot more. It's a game in the system a little bit, but it works because they have control and they have ultimate responsibility. And they know the systems and they know what they can do and can't do. So it protects us and it makes sure that we're not doing anything stupid. But we can still do the missions because it's a mission that has to be done because it's for national security.
Yeah.
So I was doing those kind of missions where it just kind of mixes up and you're doing a lot of L&O stuff. Then I started doing disguise stuff and like concealment devices and building things that I can put in places that nobody would ever know it was there. I would have cameras and audio and different things. The agency stuff.
Yeah.
It was Bullwinkle. Who was that? It's a funny joke that, never mind.
I don't know.
Maybe only the agency guys would know that. It's
Damn.
Never. It's just funny stuff. But the black bag stuff is a lot of stuff that we should have been doing all along. Like really, that's what we're good at, man. We're really sneaking. We're very small. We work in 2-man groups. We work in 3-man groups, 6-man groups. Not very many more than 32. So we're really small, you know?
Yeah.
So if you want to go off by yourself and do a mission in the SEALs, you can kind of do that. You know, you can't do that in any other group. You know, even I don't even think Green Berets would ever do that very much. And I think it's just because we're stormtroopers with you know, PhDs. It's exactly what they wanted to do with the agency when Cowboy, the dude that invented the agency from OSS. What was his name? I don't remember now. But he always says that the person we want is going to be a PhD that knows karate. You know?
Yeah.
A PhD that can shoot a gun. That's who they want at the agency.
Not
And most of
anymore.
the SEALs I know, that's who we are. Yeah, not anymore. But that's who we are. We're thinkers and we're smart, but we also know how to use the gun. You know, we know how to fight. You know, and that's a dangerous combination, that we can think and fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's who we are, the SEAL teams, you know, and that's definitely who I was.
Man, I'm
You know?
surprised you didn't get recruited by them after your
Well,
career. Or maybe you did. I don't know.
Yeah, I did stuff.
Yeah.
So, and
I did
actually,
stuff.
I got recruited when I left the teams, too. Okay, so Team 5, I was doing all this stuff, and then I went to that special project. I got recruited to go there, and I did good. But then right in the middle of that, Damn Neck needed some stuff. And
So
they needed
just for everybody listening, you keep saying Damn Neck. Damn Neck is development group, also known as Team 6.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So all the nicknames, and it's all, we still use the nicknames because we're supposed to be all like sneaky, but it's so silly.
yeah,
It's like everybody knows everything. So
cat's
shut
out of
up.
the bag.
Right. Thank you, President Obama.
Yeah, sorry.
He let the cat out a lot more than anyone else before him.
Yeah,
When he said the Obama thing. So I left the Special Projects because they needed that down at Dam Neck. And so I went there specifically for tech only. And I was a SEAL team guy. They knew I could deploy. They knew I had all this knowledge, and they knew I could do the tech.
So how did you get recruited though? So you didn't go through Green Team. You weren't a
I didn't have to.
operator or whatever over there. But
I
how
was
did they
one
get?
of, there's only been a few people to ever do that too.
Yeah, how did
To
what?
not do green team.
What was that conversation
A
like?
lot of guys at Dam Neck are really angry about it, and they don't like me.
Well,
'Cause I didn't do green team.
whatever. They can't do anything that you're fucking doing.
I
So
didn't, hey, I'm sorry, I got smart with
Yeah.
technology. But they needed some of that tech. They needed the stuff to get them buffed up, especially in the UAV section.
well, you're one of the only people I've ever met who can. I mean, you have a brilliant mind, and so that combined with your experience and your knowledge as a SEAL, I mean, and you combine that shit.
that's what they did. That's
it's
why you wanted me.
priceless.
Yeah.
You cannot find that.
That's why they wanted me. That was all. You know, I still kicked doors. You know, I still did, stuff when I was at Dam Neck. You know?
Yeah.
So Dam Neck, basically, you just deploy over because you become an expert in something. And so I became such an expertise that I was able to leave Dam Neck and go to a team and help them. And so that's when I went overseas with a team, and that's when I went with the agency because it just happens, man. You start doing L&O work and you're talking to those guys, so that and that. And so you end up doing some other work, you know? So I'm flying UAVs, I start doing some other stuff, start doing some sneaky peeky, and then that's what happens, you know? And so I always ended up going deeper into the dark, with those guys. Almost every time. It was weird. I don't know.
What team did you go to? What squadron did you go to?
Red and blue.
Red and blue?
Black, yeah.
And black? I thought you were going
I
to say
did
black.
just little black stuff, because I always kept, needing whatever. And then I was running TSE. So that's the technology group at Dam Neck.
Okay.
And so I was running all that. And
You
I had
were
a huge
running it?
budget. I ran the whole thing, yeah. And because they put me in charge of it. And I was the senior chief at the time, so, hey, run this program. And I think the highest budget I ever had was $600 million. And I think when I was at Dam Neck, I probably only had like 40 million, I think. It wasn't that much. But it was enough to do the mission. And so buying and selling and working with the contractors and writing contracts that I had to do. So because I had to do all that, I had to go to school for that. So I went to, it's called Acquisition University. And so I had to learn the entire acquisition process, which I did. And I became an acquisition guru, which
Damn.
also is kind of a weird thing. But it was how to write contracts and how to do, IDIQ and, sole source and do that and do that. And I can run through all the stuff with that. And the problem with acquisition, which I found, the problem is a horse blanket. And anybody out there who does acquisition, and everybody at the Pentagon, you guys are full of shit. They're wasting so much money that I could cut the Pentagon budget. I could take a quarter of the budget off right now. I could walk in there right now and start.
Okay, mind you, I am nothing. And I'm not anything close to what he is even remotely accomplished in like a week. But I did acquisitions at the Denver VA Medical Center, and a lot of it was so I had to write an SOP, which is a standard operating procedure. And what really helped was my experience from the music industry because of having to write such detailed reports when you're doing A&R executive type work. Not A&R executive. I'm talking about when you go from an A&R, when you're scouting, what your thoughts are, so on and so forth. I mean, you have to be extremely specific until you get them in there, you demo something, whatever. And then when you get to the executive level, your acquisitions, because you're then, all right, we need a board guy, sound engineer. What's he charging? 30,000, a week, 25,000, a week, 2 days, depending on, the kind of person you get. Okay, what's a producer running? Okay, 100,000. How many songs is he producing on this one? Okay, what's our in-house doing? What do they need? Okay, they need an upgraded, whatever. Okay. When you're having to put all that together for a new album, all right, what's our press kit? And a lot of people would find, like he's saying, if you did a lot of shit in-house that they're fully capable of doing, like let's just say like at the VA Medical Center, we had an in-house reproduction center. Prior to that, when I had first started, the reproduction center had just started. And so a lot of people were using like, the FedEx reproduction, Kinko's copy, all those other places that were open, spending thousands of dollars to have VA handbooks made up. And the VA handbooks were for new veterans coming in for, healthcare. And they were spending thousands and thousands of dollars. So I didn't have to do it, but I did look at the acquisitions form, and it was okay. Let's acquire 2 heavy duty reproduction machines, just copy machines, that have the ability to fold, cut, as far as, hole punch, 3-hole punch, collate, color copy, all the above. Anything a copy machine could do, these 2 machines could do. Okay, now we could go ahead and vent it out with, an industrial size swamp cooler, because those 2 machines raise the temperature 90 degrees. So then seeing the acquisition for that. And again, they have to go out and purchase it because Biomed didn't have any on hand. Why would they? They didn't need to. FMS, which is Facilities Management Services, they had them, but they were, no matter how sterilized they were, there was always running the risk of, okay, a lot of these are used for, fix-ups, things that we've done within the hospital that could be contaminated with asbestos or this and that. So they're usually cooling different machinery that is, pumping out, the toxins or whatever. So we couldn't use that. So they had, acquisitions for that. Okay, now a heavy-duty cutting machine. So on and so forth. Everything you could think of, we were able to acquire. And that cut, when you see the final bill, it's like, holy shit. I could have bought like a freaking LaFerrari for this one. Well, the LaFerrari wasn't out back then. I could have bought an Enzo Ferrari, like a couple of them for this much shit. But what used to shock me, and what he's talking about, like, how much money that they could have saved. Every quarter, they would come to us. Here, here's 150 grand. You guys got to find out what you need to spend it on in 2 weeks or else you lose it all. It's like, what? 150 grand? I could only order so many pencils, so many pens, so many markers, so many pallets of paper because of the reproduction. Paper, is pretty expensive, but, where are we going to store? If I were to, buy 20 pallets of paper, that's a few $1,000s right there. Where am I going to store all this paper? Because the VA, remember, they were building a new VA, and this VA that we're at is small. So the most we could carry on hand are 2 pallets of paper. But then if, like, the director of the hospital had, like, this big thing going on, we would go through those 2 pallets of paper and then have to wait for them to come and order, deliver more. So it's like, how in the fuck am I going to spend 150 grand? So it was like, okay, let's update, the meter head. Let's update the meter machine, the postage machine. Let's update, let's get a brand new folding inserting machine. Let's get a letter opener machine. Let's get in the switchboard, some updated screens. And if you did not spend that $150,000, yearly, you would lose it. Your department would lose it. And I was like, this is such a waste of money. Like, what? I don't get it. Like, I wasn't in a position of, I was in the authority of my contract, but I wasn't in a position like the director to be like, look, let's cut this shit down, write something to the secretary, because the secretary was doing a shitty job anyways, which they ended up replacing anyways, and had an intern come in. But there's a better way to do this. Healthcare doesn't have to cost so goddamn much. You don't have to have a fucking heated blanket machine for, 80 grand. You could find a heated blanket machine, $10,000, $5,000. Why are you spending $80,000 by going through a middleman? And that's what he's talking about, like cutting out the middleman. Fuck the middleman. There are just double dipping as much as they possibly can. There are times where you do need the middleman. For instance, we had a subcontract with the people who would come in and do the postage machines, like, to fix them, because we were metering out about, I would say, I know at the record label with the press kits and everything, most of our stuff were parcels, so we had a big account with FedEx, and that was about maybe 100,000 a year, roughly. At the VA, just mail, letters, first class letters. At the time, it was 45, then it went to 48. I don't know what it is now. I don't pay attention anymore. But we were metering out $120,000 every 2 months, just 45 cents. I mean, we had bins full. That's how busy it was. And the government, they don't want to cut out the middleman because it's lining a lobbyist's pocket. So everything that he's saying is so on point about, we could be saving so much goddamn money that could go towards when these poor guys retire and really help them with TBI, PTSD, all that stuff. But no, let's spend it on something fucking stupid.
Cutting the budget. And then within a week, I could cut them by 25%. And it wouldn't affect them. Zero effect at all.
Damn.
Because of contracting. Because there's so much scam, there's so much stuff going on there, and double dipping and everything else going on. And it's all stovepipes. So the Air Force is stovepipe from everybody else, the Navy stovepipe from everybody else, Special Operations stovepipe. Then you have a Special Operations stovepipe. And that's why all these companies can make us double dip. Mm-hmm. And they do it all the time. The problem also is like, why are we the ones paying for all the R&D, and you guys are sitting there taking all the products, and then you turn around and sell them back to us? So they should have some skin in the game, because they're the ones going to end up making all the money off it. Why are we paying all the R&D? We're taking all the risk that this thing will fail.
That's why I do not understand the Army Corps of Engineers. They are going to go in and they are going to rip apart whatever contractor you hired to build a building. Army Corps of Engineers are some smart motherfuckers. They're going to go in there and be like, nope, that's wrong. Nope, that's wrong. Nope, that's wrong. Here's a few million to fix it. That was my understanding of it. Now, I could be totally wrong. And if you guys, anybody listening to this ever have been an Army Corps of Engineer, You can tell me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong, but that was my understanding of it because I had asked the guy who oversaw our contract, the guy that we reported to. I asked, like, do they fix this shit or do they just turn around and give more money to the contractors? And his understanding was they turn around and give it more back to the people who they've already hired. It's just the way they drew up the contract in the beginning. It's just weird.
You guys should be taking some of the risk because you guys get all the profit.
Yep.
That's how I would start cutting some of the budget. Was I would go to Congress as the Pentagon, as the Joint Chiefs, or whatever. I would go to Congress and I would make a new law. And you can pass laws easy and make everything happen up at Congress because it's all pork anyway. Just attach a little bit of pork onto some equality thing and it'll go through. And we'll make all those companies out there at minimum, every R&D project you do, minimum has to be 25% out of your pocket or 50% of your pocket.
So you were also pushing bills through Congress, little snippets.
I was working a lot with Congress
little
and
snippets
all
of pork.
Yeah. Well, no, I would work with whoever was the acquisition head of whatever division I was working with at the Pentagon, and then they would do all that.
Okay.
All I would do is get the money
Gotcha.
and the products. So I would do the project and put it all together, the quad charts and everything else, and say, this is a really good one to do. So I invented a 2-man submarine for SEALs. How fast do we swim when we're doing SEAL teams? Underwater. If you have all your gear on, and if you do a sniper ops, you have your sniper bag on your back, and all the other stuff, how fast can you swim?
Oh man,
About
it's
a knot?
slow, but I
About a
can't,
knot?
I can't remember. Yeah, maybe.
About a mile an hour?
Yeah.
So I could get 2 snipers into my little man-powered submarine with all their equipment, and we can go 6 miles an hour, 6 knots, man-powered. All they have to do is paddle. You can have one guy paddling, can do about 4 knots. I invented that.
You invented that.
Gave it to the teams.
Holy shit.
And the thing is I have it in such a way that I could hermetically seal it in the plastic, put it in all the torpedo tubes of the nukes. And so, because they don't use all the torpedo tubes, usually 1 or 2 of them are open to do stuff. And so usually we get a couple of them. So we'll go onto a submarine and get the torpedo tube, and we use that as a lockout chamber. So we have the sections that are sectioned off. So I can take these submarines, I can put them end on end, so they're up like that, and they're the length of them about 20 feet. So it's a 20-foot long submarine for 2 people to kick out man-powered at 6 knots. And I package them up, and I put them in the submarines vertical like that, and it can be on every submarine in the fleet. And then going 6 knots, we can drop you off 30 miles out off the coast. And then you guys can kick in. And drop you 12 miles off, 15 miles off. And drop you off wherever you want. And just kick into shore with the submarine going really fast.
Damn.
And then what happens to the submarine when we get on shore? It goes away. You know what it sounds like when it's underwater?
No.
It sounds like fish. So in a sonar, you can't pick it up. There's special things I did, and I can't talk about it, but there's stuff I did with that just blow your mind. And that was one of the special projects I did. And I think they only gave me they didn't give me very much money for that one. I think I did that one only with less than $100,000. For all the R&D and getting it all there and we made 4 prototypes, I think. And then I left that program, so I don't know where it is right now. And it's classified, so I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
I had another one where I could put out a signal, and if anybody records anything anywhere in the world, I know the exact spot they recorded it. That was one of mine.
Man.
I don't know if that's classified because the shit's so old and nobody, well, at this
Wow.
point, it's like if we think of it and the amount of PhDs we have in America,
It's out there.
China already thought about it 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you can look at it, it's math. If we have 1 PhD to every 20 of theirs in STEM, I'm not talking about the stupid soft arts, the touchy-feely stuff. I don't care about any of that. America has so many PhDs in counseling and sociology and crap. All the STEM is where you got to be. STEAM, actually. STEAM is where we should be at, and it's all over there. We don't do it. And it pisses me off. And what are they pushing all these kids in grade school and high school right now? They're not pushing tech and math and engineering or any of this good stuff.
Yeah.
They're pushing all the like the touchy-feely and let's talk and play patty cakes and let's be nice. You know, no, do math, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Because we're done already. We're finished.
I think we're done too.
As a country,
Didn't they come out and say mathematics is now racist?
Oh yeah, I said that
That's
too.
a real statement.
I heard also a real statement that if you're on time, it's racist. If you show up to something, if you're if you're like punctual.
Everything is racist now.
And that's why
Everything
our
is
country's
racist.
done. Our country's
I know.
done.
And nobody's speaking out about it. Nobody is speaking out about it. It's just, yep, this is where we're at. I'm not good at math, so it's racist.
I blame it all on cultural Marxism, the Frankfurt School, and the universities in America.
I mean,
We haven't talked about it yet.
It's influenced from China. You know what I mean? It's propaganda, don't you think?
No, I mean, it
With
started way
TikTok
before
and
that.
all that stuff?
It started before that. It started after Napoleon. Just after the Napoleonic Wars. That's when it started.
Let's get back to your career
Okay.
before we go
so
down
we're
to
still
any
SEAL Team
rabbit hole.
5. So I get recruited to Dam Neck, and I do that, and I do Green Team. All the guys in Dam Neck are mad at me because I didn't do that. And they call me, well, yeah, SEAL, but not really. You know? And that kind of crap. But then every time they need something, they all come to me.
Oh, yeah, they're nice then, right?
Yeah. So I'm also riding my Harley, and it's a 1960 Harley that I'm riding into Dam Neck compound every day, right through the gate. And I'm parking it right there. It's a Kickstarter. It's a bad motorcycle. And they're all seeing it, and they're going, and so they're all kind of looking at it too, going, well, pretty cool, SEAL, but didn't go through Green Team, you know, and they're throwing a finger at me. And so I'm isolated from the entire team. And my own team that I'm supporting those guys, doing everything I can for them. I changed the face of technology at Dam Neck because I started doing something with all the techs that never been done before. I was deploying them into like real combat because we were training them for combat to do real missions. Before that, the tech group would deploy with the teams, but they were still like, you're outsiders, you're not really with us, you're not trained well, if you don't have this, you don't have that. We would never let them really do any work. And so we started this whole program, it wasn't me, but this program was started to put all the techs through this qualification course, similar to Green Team, not as tough, but it was pretty tough, you know? It wasn't easy. And at that time, I forgot to tell you, I fell off a ship one time and broke my back. And the guys were kicking me on the way up the ship, and I actually climbed the ship with it broken onto the shipboard. But it was really hard for me to do push-ups after that. And so for me, even to go, I would never make it through Green Team. I wouldn't make it through Buds right now because my back is so jacked up. And so when I do push-ups and all the pressure is right on all the brakes, it's really difficult. And so I'm crap at push-ups right now. And even doing sit-ups, I'm really bad at it because it's like, if you break all those bones in your lower back and you're all screwed up, you're gonna have a real hard time doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's another reason why, after that happened, I kind of started moving way more into tech also. So it's kind of like I should have brought that up because it was part of the equation. Part of the equation why I went in so deep into tech was because it was a better place for me because I couldn't really do as much as I used to. And I knew it.
That makes
and so
sense.
as a team guy, if you know you can't do it, I don't want to be a detriment to the team. So if I'm just flying a UAV and I'm doing that, I can still do the work. I'm not going to be as effective. If my effectiveness went from that 100, I'm down to this 70 or 80 group. Because I dropped down. I'm not like a civilian, but I'm still pretty good, but I know I'm not as good as I was.
Damn,
and I admit
though,
that.
Chris, I mean, just
And so when I'm
like,
doing that stuff, the damn guys see me doing push-ups and I'm crap at it, and they're going, what? And that makes them even angrier at me, you know? Because they're like, well, you never would have made it anyway. And they're getting all angry. I said, yeah, but I'm a senior chief. I'm 45 years old. I've already done it and I was door kicking. I can show you all the time I did and all my shooting and firefights and whatever you want me to show you. So I do the job. And I said, when I'm in a kill house, and they saw me in a kill house, I'm pretty good. And that's all they care about is a kill house. And when I went to a kill house, it's like, dude, I'm doing it. I'm taking care of business. And they also knew that, the guys that worked with me directly. So it was like, I just want to bring that up because all those guys at Dam Neck, they're so freaking egotistical about what they do that they shit on I was going to say real SEALs. But if you think about the SEAL teams, that's the real SEALs, is all the other teams, not the Dam Neck guys. Because they have a mission, have a very specific thing. They're not doing all the SEAL team missions. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Except for during the war, everything got all mixed up. But if you want to go back to the old SEALs, the SEALs were the SEALs. And the Dam Neck guys had a specific mission, that's what they did. You know what I mean? It was like, dude, I can do what you guys are doing. Especially if I was back in the old days, I would have kicked you guys' asses. You know? So give me a freaking break. I'm here to do a mission. Don't keep punching me in the face.
How long were you over there?
Like 5 years, I think. Long enough.
Did you enjoy
4 or
it
5 years.
at all?
Oh, it was amazing. I loved it.
Okay.
Even when all the damn net guys were punching me in the face, I would still love going there because the mission was so intense. When you're doing the mission, you know you're doing a mission. So, dude, you guys can crap on me every day you want, but I'm doing a mission. I'm still helping. And that's what the techs, even at damn neck, the techs get crapped on all the time.
I've heard
So when
that.
I got in charge of all the techs, I made them stop. And when I started doing the techs, they kept coming down to the space because I had my own space down there. It was like this huge rooms and all our equipment, all our stuff. And I would say, "What are you doing down here? Get back up to your squadron." And they're going, "All right, senior." And so they would go up there and I said, "I don't ever want to see you." I said, "I want you here once a week on Fridays just to check in and tell me everything's good and tell me what you need." I said, "Otherwise, I want you with those guys all the time. You need to drink beer with them. You need to be with them every second." I said, "And that's how you're going to do it. When they're training, you train." I said, "If they don't let you train in the kill-house, then just go over on the side and just keep drawing your pistol against the wall and do drills and have all the gear on and just drill against the wall. And they're going to see you. Eventually going to invite you in the kill-house." And they did. And so after me really pushing all the techs to really be part of the squadrons, we went from 1 or 2 tech missions a year to like over 100.
Wow. You've done a lot for the teams.
So,
There's no doubt
I was
about
just
it.
doing what I thought was right. And they didn't like me because I kept pushing the techs up to them.
And it goes to show you, that it just
Even
goes to
getting
show
punched in
you
the
everything
face.
happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Your back broke,
Yeah.
and you found your calling in the teams. So
Yeah.
I'm 100%.
And it weren't
convinced
fully
of
broken
that.
in half, and it wasn't really bad. It was just the ruptured discs and fractures. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like, I didn't get paralyzed. So I'm okay. It just hurts really bad.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and stop it right there. I went over about 20 minutes or so. But man, it sucks you in, and I get extremely just interested and into it. Everything he's saying, top of me talking. But I'll try to refrain from interjecting too many opinions on the next one because, like I said, these episodes are quite long. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And I'll be back at you tomorrow. Tomorrow I do a table read rehearsal for the second lead that I had auditioned for and got the part. So excited about that. I have to go over the script again, so I'm going to be up doing a little bit of homework reading that. But yeah, man, I'm completely stoked. I'm all energetic tonight. Wanted to listen to him talk because he just exudes that confidence, and he's full of, dude is fucking brilliant. And it makes you wonder, like, how did he do, why did he do what he did? But that's such an interesting story that I hope you guys hang on to, and we'll stick around for, listening to that. So, yeah, I will be back at you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening wherever you are, wherever you may be. Have a safe evening. Hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday, and I'm out.
But I have all gray and black discs now from like all my lumbar almost up to, not quite, it's thoracic up through my lumbar and the whole thing. The whole section is really dark.
Have you been blown up at all?
Yeah.
What can we talk about that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're in a damn neck, guy, I guess. So I got pulled into the damn neck and went through, did a bunch of training, kill house all the time, doing stuff all the time because I'm still a SEAL. So I was going out to the ranges and shooting. And the beauty about that team is they have 24-hour ranges. And so we can be out in town or you don't sleep. And so you just will swipe in and you go shoot 24 hours a day, which is pretty awesome,
Yeah.
And we have a pool you can swipe on and go into the pool 24 hours a day. We have anything you want 24 hours a day. When you're in there, just go to town, And you have guys doing stuff. It's just like, wow. If you show up there at 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll see guys working. And you're like, damn. And it's like a weekend. That's why Craig Sawyer was so awesome at Damn Neck. Because at Team 1, he was like that. He was the guy that on Sunday, if you went in the compound for whatever reason at the team, I was at Team 1 with Craig. So if you went in the compound on Sunday at Team 1, you'd see Craig there with his poncho liners all over part of the grinder, and then he would be there with all his gear, every piece of gear, and he'd be sitting there with a toothbrush, and he'd be organizing and getting it ready. He'd have all his guns out there, and he'd be just doing his stuff every Sunday. It was dedication, man. That's hardcore. I had it to when the techs were doing the same thing. When I was there doing the stuff, they were running with rucksacks on, techs, and doing this 10-mile runs, techs. At the end of it, you could see them throwing up all over themselves, just puking all over their shirts and their pants, and just because they were working so hard. And it makes you proud. So I'm like, that's a IS, or that's a OS, or that was a photographer's mate. He's sitting there running 10 miles with a rucksack on, throwing up on himself.
Yeah.
And the dedication, how hard, it was like, it was pure heart. You know?
Back to explosions.
Sorry.
Have you been?
Oh yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't that bad. So I see the guys that like Jay, man, Jay Redmond, he had some real terrible injuries, you know. And there's a lot of other guys that had some terrible injuries. And so I don't really talk about it a lot. So when I got hit, it was pretty light. And even when I talk about a Purple Heart, it's like, man, you know, it was like like Admiral Richards when he got hit in Vietnam, and he had a bone sticking out. And he thought it was a bullet, and he thought about John Wayne. He says, John Wayne said, bite the bullet. So he said, I can't have a bullet in there. He started biting on his hand, and his fingers started moving. And all the guys started laughing at him. He said, dude, it's your bone. And he looked at it again and said, oh, dang, it's a bone.
Damn.
So it wasn't that bad.
So how did you get it? How did you get?
So I was
your
at
Purple Heart.
I was at one of the classified agency fire bases.
Okay.
And they were hitting us all the time, you know. And so we had a lot of mortars and rockets. And then the way they do it is it's really ingenious, you know. What they would do is they'd set up sawhorses, and they would put the rockets on there. These 107 millimeter Russian rockets, and they would use washing machine timers, you know, basically to tick, 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 and it would hook it up, and that would fire it. And so they could set up these sawhorses, and they knew close enough, and they knew all the stuff, and they were good at it. As they set all these rockets up on the sawhorses, a whole bunch of them, and set up the timer, and they all go off this, and they were gone. And so whatever spot they're shooting them from, the little birds would fly out, or whatever would happen, we'd hit the spot, but it would be, nobody was there. They were gone like an hour ago. You know, they were just washing machine timers. And it would hit here and hit there because they set a bunch of them up. So we started getting hit. And so it was one of the really big hits like that. And one of the guys got hit really bad, and it zipped him right up the back and just destroyed him. And it was like, you could see it, you know. You could see the actual spine, everything just flayed, and his skull and his neck, and it was just, he got hit really bad because he was right there with most of the blast. Yeah. When the blast hit me, it just threw me, and a lot of frag and other stuff, but I was able to run in and grab my gear and go fight, so it was not a big deal, you know. If you're able to fight, you know, after you get hit, you just brush it off, it's not a big deal. And then, you know, clean it up and then go on with business, you know. And then you just keep going, you know. And the next day, I'm good, man, don't send me anywhere. But I did have to get x-rayed because I didn't know if there was any more frag in me, so I went to the Army hospital, and then they did stuff. Did they x-ray me there? It was later. When I did an MRI once, I still had metal in me, and it pulled the metal out. There's that blood all over the MRI, which kind of sucked. But so you still have metal in you because it's just frag, you know.
Yeah.
But they pulled the frag out and then, you know, bandaged it up, and then just keep fighting. Yeah. You know, that's what it was. It wasn't a big deal. The other ones were, you know, even, you know, a lot of explosions for breaching, you know. Yeah. And that's where the TBIs come from, is the constant. So I had a lot of TBI, which I almost cured. You know, I helped a lot of the TBI. So it's totally the neuroplasticity in your brain. I don't know if you know anything about neuroplasticity.
Not much.
But it's something for everybody out there, for all of them. All the SEALs.
How'd you cure
every
it?
Every breacher.
How do you think you cured it?
I think I cured it with microdose and mushrooms.
What kind of mushrooms?
Psilocybin? Yeah, psilocybin. However you say that word.
Stuff
but magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
So the thing is the magic mushrooms, they've been on Earth for millennia. You know, they've been here since the beginning of time. There's theories about the magic mushrooms, and that's why we had to jump from basically the Neanderthal or whatever it was up to Homo sapien. Was because it opened the mind up and it made the mind
So I want to try to limit how much I interject my opinion on, because I don't want this to run so long. But there's also a job that I have purposely left out for specific reasons right after the music industry. It was still in the entertainment industry. And it was an adult film or anything like that. But I I was a regional manager, and yeah, this is what got me so sick of nightlife, of clubs and bars and all that stuff. But I had met a woman. I was 24, 25, somewhere around there, because this was my transition from the record label that fucked up here, and then before I went to the more established one. And so there was a little bit of downtime there where I filled my time in with this other job. And it was like love at first sight from my point of view. It was either her that I would have gotten married to, or this Russian girl that I had mentioned in some of my videos. And, anyways, I can count on both my hands how many times I've tried weed. Probably 7, 8 times. Not a big, weed smoker. I don't have anything against people who smoke. It's neither here nor there. I really don't care. But with shrooms, I got talked into it. Very first time was with a really good friend of mine. I just bought a brand new 35th anniversary edition Camaro. This is before Transformers came out, so before that body style. So it still had that cool style, not the flip up lights, but the more rounded out lights. Or it was awesome looking. You would have to look it up. And it was T-Top SS, black. Beautiful car. I never had so many compliments on a car. And so our other friend's 14-year-old little brother was like, hey, I'll drive you guys around. I'm like, okay. I didn't care. We're all tripping out on shrooms. I just remember everything being so vibrant. I'm like, wow, this is a trip, Never thought this is what shrooms was like. So about a few weeks later, it's me and my ex girlfriend, and she lived in these townhomes where you would walk in, and it was even, it was level with the ground, but her balcony was like a sub-level balcony, to where the top of the balcony you'd have to climb out if you wanted to, and you would be level with the ground. That's how it was made. So I remember I had gotten a bootleg copy of Star Wars Episode 3, and with it starting off is when the shrooms like kicked in. I'm like, wow, this is like really intense, man. This is like, wow. And her neighbors from upstairs, they were partying with us, and so I've never tried like coke. I've never tried ecstasy. I've never tried heroin. I've never tried anything like that. It was just the shrooms, and so go outside, and the guy's like tripping out on something else. Like he had taken, I think he was doing coke or something like that. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And I remember, okay, so that was like the first thing that kind of like started weirding me out. And then I'm like looking at these trees, and I'm like, have you ever seen that movie, The Village? Like, this kind of reminds me like The Village, like something bad's gonna happen. So we go inside, and she had just had a litter of kittens because she loved cats. And I'm not even like paying attention. Like the next thing I know, she's freaking out, like yelling and crying, and I'm like thinking something bad happened to her. So I'm like running over, like, you okay? What's going on? And apparently, a fox or a coyote came, grabbed one of the kittens, made it its meal. After that, complete turnaround on the shrooms. They turned on me. I just remember getting so profusely hot that I was just like almost like I was under a shower, like just sweating, and I just started vomiting. Like I could not stop vomiting. So she put me under like a cold shower. And I remember after that, she put a bucket by the bed, and she like wraps me up, and she's like all like coddling me. And it's like she snapped out of it real quick. I was like just freaking out. I remember just thinking to myself, like, how long this shit's going to last forever. Hope like they didn't give me some acid when I wasn't looking. So I'm like continuing to freak out. Never again. And that was like 23 years ago. It still left that big of an impression on me. I was like, nope, fuck that. I'm never taking that shit again. That's my experience with shrooms.
pathways and make it start working. And so what happens is when you're doing mushrooms, if you're microdose, you're not tripping. So it's super low doses. And you have to have guidance. You have to have a guide. And you have to have intention. You have to have, like, very controlled. You have to be really careful. And you do it for a long period of time. So basically you take 0.5 grams and less, and it's really small doses. And if you start building up a tolerance, you can start bumping up a little bit, but never more than a gram. So it's very small doses. And you do it every 72 hours for weeks and weeks and weeks, up to like 15 weeks.
15 weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, think about that. You know, if you think about every 3 days, and it's not easy. This is not fun.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that they're really making mistakes with, that even like marijuana, you know, if you're not trying to smoke marijuana to get high and have fun with it, it's a really nice medicine that is, it does a lot. In our bodies, we have cannabinoid receptors, you know. And so if in our bodies we have a receptor is that they only will talk to cannabis, why do we have that in human bodies? Unless that's something that we need or something that's good for us. That's the question I got for you. Same thing with the magic mushrooms, the psilocybin, you know. If you don't abuse them, and just like any other pharmaceutical you have on your shelf right now or the doctor gives you, if you take morphine and you abuse it, you're going to be bad. And morphine is a pharmaceutical that they give you, and it's good. It's not a bad pharmaceutical. Why is psilocybin bad? You know, why did they do that? Because you can abuse any one of those other drugs. I can kill somebody with aspirin. You know, aspirin's dangerous. You know, so they pick and choose because it's so effective, and because you can't make money off it.
That's what I think.
So I can grow mushrooms right now and do everything I need to do. I don't do it. I can grow marijuana right now. It's a weed. Mushrooms are a weed. You know, it's God's medicine. And so because God's medicine you can't make money on, it's illegal. Isn't that weird?
No, it's not. It's perfect. It makes perfect sense that the pharmaceutical companies would never allow that.
Makes me very angry.
Would lobby to keep that illegal because there goes their sales. There goes their money. Because the shit is working. It's working with PTSD. It's working with anxiety, ADHD, bipolar disorder. Now they're doing studies with Alzheimer's and dementia.
So you take
it's
magic
helping
mushrooms.
all these things.
Unbelievable.
And it's illegal.
Yeah.
It is illegal.
It's amazing. So you have
And
to go
we
down to
know
Mexico.
we know what the alternative is with the benzos and antidepressants.
Well,
and
I was on all those.
You know, so
I was on
I.
all of it. And I was on the opioids, and I had a really big problem. That was all during that 10 years when I had all
And they
those
cure
issues.
addiction.
What's that?
And they cure addiction.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to bring up. That there's programs down south, because you can't do it here in America, because we're such idiots, that you have to go down to Mexico. You have to go way down south in South America. And so if you do every 72 hours, if you microdose, and you're alcoholic, like a hardcore alcoholic, the most bad alcoholic you ever could imagine, you won't drink anymore. And if you don't become an alcoholic, you're done. You might still drink a little bit, like social drinking, like a little bit, but you won't be an alcoholic anymore.
That's what happened to me.
I swear.
I did it.
If you're a drug addict, you won't be a drug addict anymore.
Yeah. I did it. I haven't drank in like February 14th. It'll be a year.
Congratulations.
So,
Same thing.
weeks, you know.
So here's two witnesses to the world that psilocybin, I always mess up that word. Psilocybin in microdoses and small doses over some periods of time has proven over and over again addictions and rewiring the neuroplasticity of the brain. So you have brain damage. It would be one, if you had half your brain shot off, if you did that, you'd probably heal it.
You're
It would
regenerating.
rewire. Regeneration and rewiring. It's unbelievable. And we do that.
Yeah. Let's talk about your awards with Valor.
Oh, I still didn't even get to my final teams.
Well,
So Damn Neck. So I'm doing all this stuff at Damn Neck, and it's just going crazy with all these inventions, doing all this stuff. And so all the crazy inventors in the teams, they all know me. So Gus Gussentine is one of them, and Bill Shepard's another one, Shep Shepard. So he's an astronaut, SEAL team guy, the first one, and probably one of the most famous SEALs until, the war maybe, because he was very well known and hugely respected. I still respect him. He's a mentor. And so he took over science and technology at SOCOM. Admiral Olson is a SOCOM commander. he was my commander at Warcom. When you didn't like me a lot because I kept telling him no. How do you have a E6 telling an admiral no? I did, and he really mad at me. And the master chief at the time, he always says that he was always getting me out of trouble because I was really hardcore against the officers because I was the only enlisted almost at Warcom. It was all captains and admirals. But I can't remember master chief's name now. So I'm at there, and I'm doing all this stuff. And so Shep Shepard calls me up. Olson's the commander. Shep has all of science technology at all of the special operations. And so he calls me on the phone. He says, hey, Chris, I know you want to stay at Damnac, and I told him, and he knew that it was like, dude, this is a mission. I'm never leaving here. And almost anybody that goes there never want to leave because it's a mission. Anybody that leaves Damnac is for a specific reason, because it's a better job, or they got kicked out, or they don't want them back. So if you see any Damnac guys only did 4 years, you ought to ask them. So usually 2 tours. After 8 years, guys will leave Damnac because they'll do a couple and then leave. But a 40-year guy at Damnac, it doesn't make sense, you know?
Yeah.
So Shep calls me on the phone, and he asks me, he says, hey, I took over science technology. I want you to come down here and take, be the senior enlisted advisor. I said, well, I'm one of the senior chiefs. He said, I don't care. I said, well, I'm at Damnac. I don't really want to leave, and I'll have to move down to Florida. And he says, well, you'll have carte blanche. You can invent and do everything you want. You have a budget. I'll give you a budget. And he's told me all this. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. So he recruited me to SOCOM to be the senior enlisted advisor to SOCOM Science and Technology.
Damn.
And so I was there, and that's when I went hog wild. So the Pentagon already knew me because I was at a couple of years prior was when I did the target tracking thing. And so they all knew me because I was there. And so every time I showed up at the Pentagon, I had all these doors that were immediately open because they knew that I could help them. I was an advantage to their program. And so when I was at SOCOM doing S&T, I had a lot of access to a lot of other programs and a lot of money because as soon as I brought the Damnac programs or my programs into their programs, then we could combine money and then cut stuff and then advance the whole program way further. And so I was doing that a lot, because I could open all the stovepipes up because I knew the stovepipes. So I was part of the stovepipes now because we had Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines at SOCOM. It wasn't just the Navy. Damnac's a stovepipe. They talk a lot good with the Army, groups. Those guys do really good, but it's a stovepipe from them into some other areas. They open most of them up now. I think it's all mostly fixed with LNOs, liaisons. But so it was just a perfect place for me. And so I moved down there immediately, bought a house, and was there doing that. And I can't tell you about most of the stuff there, but
Sounds like your dream job.
it really is. And I was almost at my 20 years. Oh, I deployed twice when I was in S&T at SOCOM,
Really?
which doesn't happen very much. I was a shooter down there. I was like, because he gave me kind of whatever, and I was like, nobody could control it. So I would just say, I need to go over and do some stuff. And they were, all right. And so he tells me one time, he says, hey, you were doing some stuff at Damnac with all the tech stuff, and you had these boxes that you would bring over, and we had ISU-90s as one, had drawers in it, and had all my stuff in there. I had my welder and had a bunch of other stuff in there. So basically, at Damnac, because we're a tech group and we experiment with a lot of stuff, we have to have a lot of equipment at our hands to be able to oscilloscope and all this and soldering irons and all the equipment to be able to tear stuff apart and rebuild it and test it and do stuff. So I built all these things at Damnac to make them be able to do this testing. Well, I helped them build it. I wasn't the full builder because I think Rich did a lot of that too, and a bunch of other people. But I was part of that program that built the stuff, and in that was building up the concealment program and the audio and video program and the mechanical engineering program, all into these boxes. And so Shep found out about that, and so he says, "Hey, I want you to build a system that can be for all the other teams and the Green Berets and the Rangers and anybody special operations. We need a system to be able to deploy with all their teams that they can do the same thing you did at Damnac. So if they break something, they can fix it, they can weld it, they can invent it, they can do that." So you remember when the Humvees overseas we had the rings, the Modus up on top. Well, so we started, my program is the one that take the Modus on one side, and then we could have on the other side the minigun on one ring. They don't do that stuff. And then we had to reinforce stuff and build this. And DeWalt batteries to shoot the miniguns. Like all this stuff. Like, here's a minigun. You had to look at these giant batteries and do this stuff. And I said, why don't you just make it so just like it's just slap a battery in and then shoot. You don't have to have wires or anything. Just have it a plug and play thing. And then I take that battery off and grab some more batteries and you can stick those in charging or whatever. And always have them on standby, not one wire.
That was you.
I also was the one that remote fired. Remember the crow system? So remember the crows in the MRAPs? So we had the MRAPs, or pieces of crap.
This is after my time.
No, oh yeah, it might have been. Well, the MRAPs are these giant pill boxes, and I said it was Maginot Line on wheels. And they used to make them so angry that I would say that. I said, it is. It's a pill box. It's a Maginot Line on wheels. I said, we're sitting ducks. We can't do anything. I said, I want the doors off, and I want this, and I want that. And I said, this is the vehicle I want. And it was basically, they had the vehicles, perfect vehicles down at Bragg, the Scorpions. And it's not classified. So all that stuff. So Shep said, I want you to build these things that we can deploy overseas to do this, to make these weird additions and modify stuff for guys overseas in combat. And I said, okay. So I said, how much money do I have? He said, well, there's no money for that kind of a program. It's just a new program. Just see what we can do. And he says, well, how many people can help you do this? And he says, well, it's just you. I was like, okay, so I'm alone and I have no money. Within 6 months after he told me that, we were deployed in Afghanistan with 12 systems. I had $10 million and I had 30 people trained.
Damn, Chris.
I invented the training program. The first part of the training program, how we started it, because these are all going to be like engineers and retired guys, because this is all contracted now. So now I'm working in a contractor world with all these contractor guys. And so we had to train them up to be not like I had to do with my techs at Dam Neck. I had to train them up enough so they knew the mindset and knew how we worked. So I had this little room. It was about half the size of this room. I had 30 guys that were trying out for this first system to deploy in Afghanistan. So this little tiny room, and I had a heater in it. I cranked the heater up way before they got there, and it was super hot in that room. I said, okay, everybody get in that room. And before they went in the room, they all had pieces of paper and pencils. And I gave them this test to do in a room, a pencil test. So 30 guys in a really hot room that big, standing up. There's no furniture in the whole room. It's a blank room. Hot. It was terrible. And then we were watching and seeing who's complaining, and see who did it, see what they did, and see everything, watching them. And then when I said, okay, when you're done with your test, it was like a 20 question test. And it was like P equals NRT, and that's pressure, volume is energy, temperature. It's these little equations, all the stuff, because I really wanted to test them, see how far they got. I said, if you have a battery in your car, and we have to do this, we got to get 24 volts, how do you wire it? Take 2 car batteries and do this and write it in series. It's all easy stuff. A lot of it, some of it was a little weird. That was hard. I really wanted to see what their knowledge point was. So 20 questions were important. Each one of them I wrote the test. So I said, when you finish your test, come in that door, knock on that door, and then come out into the room, and then we'll do some more stuff. And so outside of the room, we had garbage cans, a whole bunch of other stuff, and we had like sound. It was wild, and flashing lights. And so somebody would knock on the door, and then we open up the door just enough to get the guy in there, and everybody in the room would start seeing what's going on. They're going, what's going on? It was just weird. Because I just wanted to see how far I could push them, just like, oh, you can complain, or you can just suck it up and just do it. Do the 20 questions and answer them as good as you can, knock on the door and just go. Don't be scared. It's just like, stuff is happening. Don't worry about it, Yeah. And then went out there, and then they had to actually wire up the batteries. They had to do some welding. They had to get on a mill. We had lathes and mills. That's how deep I went. I had to do all of it, And then we had a car. We had 2x4s. And I said, build a small wall there. And I had a whole bunch of cut up 2x4s and a bunch of nails and hammers and everything else. I said, build a small wall over there. And I said, build a mini wall this high, this big, and do that. And we also had this thing, and I built a shape out of wood, and I had some other stuff on it. I said, duplicate that with all the stuff over there. And so I had to do some real precision cutting and some stuff. I want to see how mechanical they were, how skilled they were with their hands. It's a really cool test. And then after that, it was about a 2-hour long period of time just testing them all. And we were grading them on all of it. And And then after that, we put them through like a long training period on how to actually use all the gear and how to do all the stuff. We taught all these guys how to use a mill and a lathe, how to weld, like professional welders, like all of it. Intense training. And then I built these boxes, ISU 90s with 2 of them with fold down sides. Did you ever see those things?
No.
No, this was 2010. You know, were you in 2010?
I was out in
Oh,
2006.
you were out then. So you missed all this stuff then.
Yeah.
So in
All the good
2010,
shit.
before I deployed and got all the stuff done, like everybody in special operations worldwide is gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. I built all those things from nothing. And we ended up calling it a Mobile Technology Complex, MTC. That's what I named it. Then because of money stuff, because I was still searching for money, there's a whole program in the Army that does all the repairs and the engineering of all this equipment. I think it's at RCOM, or no, not RCOM, Redcom? No. It's a group. They have a huge bucket of money for doing all the repairs and maintenance. It's basically 3M maintenance on all the equipment. And so we could get that money because we're doing tons of repairs on all their equipment. Something breaks, we repair it overseas in combat, but it doesn't need to be sent back home and then fixed and then sent back over. We're saving the military, thousands of dollars a day just on broken equipment that we're fixing. And so what we did was we rewrote the whole thing, we renamed it, and rewrote our mission statements to include repair, not just innovation and all the other stuff. So now we got tons of money. And so now we're up to, this is way over like $400 million now. That was one of my bigger programs.
Absolutely brilliant.
And then that program got handed off to our real leader, because I was just an enlisted, E8 senior chief. Then a bunch of officers took it, and it went to a bunch of GSs. Now I think it's run by like a GS-15 or something. That was before I retired. So 2011, I deployed with all the stuff, and we did all the stuff, and then I came back in October, and I retired in February of 11. And now I'm retired with all this and all the experience in the Pentagon. So then I have a phone call come from Pentagon. And they said, hey, we know you're retiring. I want you to come do some work for us. And I said, well, I'm not going to be military. I want to be civilian. I said, what am I going to be at, 15 or SES? 15, okay. So I got right from E8 to but they didn't make, I ended up going civilian route as an interpersonal agency transfer from agency into the Pentagon as a contractor, making a little over $200,000 a year.
Damn.
So I went for the money, still doing the same job, but I'm not in uniform, I'm not government, I'm not GS 15, I'm not an SES. Actually, it was kind of an SES-1 equivalent at the end, is what they made me. It was an SES-1 equivalent.
What is an SES-1?
It's an admiral.
Okay.
It's a 1-star admiral equivalent.
That's what I thought.
The SESs is when you get into the admiral ranks,
Okay.
a GOFOS, general admiral. And so I was up there working at the Pentagon now as an admiral equivalent, running huge programs and doing stuff. But then I did a lot of really good projects. But at the same time, I was doing that whole transgender weird thing because now I'm retired,
Yeah.
So now the chains are off me. I don't got to worry about anything.
Well, let's.
I can smoke a joint and I can do other stuff. And I'm done with my government military stuff. So I'm not worried about anything. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start living a bit right now and trying to figure out who I am. And part of the figure out who I am was part of that isolation, always wanting to be my sister as a kid, just like I said, and that very confusing. I was a virgin until I was 22 years old. I've had, to this day, I've only had sex with like 8 people, 8 women, and it's not something I'm proud of or brag about, but it's something that I'm still very naive and I'm still very prudish and I'm still very, anti-sexual stuff, kind of. Because I don't think it needs to be so far in the open of what we've done with society. And so how I see it and how I saw myself, was not sexual, but it was my identity, was me trying to escape who I was to be something better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole nother story.
The Iron Man suit.
Oh, Iron Man.
I heard you talk about this on another podcast, and I want to go in detail on this project because I believe you got cut off.
So if you want to hear a really wild podcast.
So this seems like a good enough time to stop if there ever was a good point. When you hear the Iron Man suit, it is exactly what you think of. The Iron Man suit. The same suit that Tony Stark built in the movies. All of a sudden, the government wanted to build an Iron Man suit, and he was one of the few people that got tasked with creating an Iron Man suit. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, that'll be coming up on the next part. So, yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this. By the look of things, we're a little bit more than halfway. Well, no, we're exactly halfway. So, yeah, like I said, I hope you guys are enjoying this. By the view counts, it looks like some of you guys are. If any of you guys have any comments, likes, feel free to leave them. I noticed a lot of new views. Definitely hook me up, man. Follow, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Don't say that often, but if you can, that'd really help me out. I appreciate it. And definitely, I'm just interjecting my opinions here, just reacting to this. All the credit goes to the Sean Ryan Show. Of course, you can watch him directly. I just interject my opinion as being a civilian and working at the VA Medical Center once I got out of the music industry, and knowing what a lot of these poor guys had gone through, and being familiar with acquisitions and budgets and a lot of the other things that I went through, and also with my ex being she was an ES, wasn't it ES? No, GS, I'm sorry. She was actually a GS 15 for the Bureau of Land Management, or the Department of the Interior. So yeah, familiar with a lot of the acronyms and stuff that he's talking about. I never served, unfortunately. I was in college and working for the music industry at the same time. Well, a little bit after I went to school, but I had a good job, and of course, if the draft was implemented, I'd be there. But no, I salute these guys 100%, man. Everything that they've done for our country, and they're still treated like shit, which pisses me off. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoy this. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, comment, let me know, any opinions, negative or positive. Just kind of keep it, PG-13. And yeah, I hope to see you guys back. And until next time, I am out.